Good morning, Patriots. Welcome back to This American Sunrise. We're live in West Palm Beach. That is the beautiful square right downtown.
Love that. Love what they've done to that area. It looks so beautiful.
It's beautiful. You know what's not beautiful? The swamp's not beautiful, but it's about time we drain the swamp. This segment is sponsored by Sea of Mud Apparel. Great shirts. There you have it. You've got that great shirt, that Trader Joe's shirt. That's always a classic. They now have these Trader Joe's mugs. I don't know if you saw them, but they're pretty cool. They're like, they look like the red, like the Trader Joe's or Republican red, but they're like handmade, so they're really pretty.
Ooh, I love that fact that they're handmade too. The t-shirts are pretty cool. I know they sell out of them all the time, so that's cool. They have mugs now.
Yeah, well, there's no bigger swamp than the White House right now. And what would you, I mean, I know
and that's saying a lot because we live in Florida. It's pretty hot and humid
It's pretty
here.
swampy here, but it's pretty swampy in D.C. when you know that the government wants to control your kids. Watch what Joe Biden's saying.
Rebecca put a teacher's creed into words when she said, "There's no such thing as someone else's child. No such thing as someone else's child. Our nation's children are all our children."
Thoughts? You're shocked.
Thoughts that there weren't many thoughts coming from out of him. Yeah. You know what? At least he didn't say, let's lick the world or talk about ice cream. Yeah.
A little bit of an improvement? It's a scary world right now.
It is a scary world right now.
It's a scary world. And, you know, you got to remember, we're being watched on a world stage. And right now, our national security advisor isn't answering questions. Watch this.
Thank you, guys.
Why did the documents agree to go undetected for so long?
Wow.
And this was when he was being pressed about China and what the future holds.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much been the strategy that we've seen from this administration, right? I mean, if there's a disaster, we're not going to go to it. East Palestine, invasion at the border. I mean, he appointed his VP to be czar of the border. She's not really going there. Where has she been?
Hiding like Biden.
Hiding like Biden.
Hiding like Biden. But you know who's not hiding is Harley Lippman. He is a geopolitical expert. He joins us to talk on a bunch of topics, but specifically today, a little bit about what's going on in China and Taiwan. Harley, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Good to have you. What's the latest?
Well, everybody's worried about what the future of China and Taiwan are going to be. Is this a harbinger of a war? Is war inevitable? This is what I think is a real issue on everybody's mind. And if there is a war, what is it going to look like and how is it going to affect us? So here are the criteria if there were to be a war. And that is if Taiwan declares formal independence, or it appears that they're going to declare formal independence. Or if the United States is supplying Taiwan publicly with very offensive weapons, that could be a trigger for the Chinese to invade as well. So from the Chinese mentality, they feel that their civil war has never been resolved. And in their mind, what looms large is closure on their civil war. And they had a civil war in 1949. The anti-communists fled to Taiwan, which was part of China. And now it's kind of, it's a democracy and it's not fully independent. So as long as Taiwan doesn't declare independence, the likelihood is there will not be a war.
Well, that would be good news. Americans are having mixed opinions. I just want to put this up real quick. You know, Americans are having mixed opinions right now that they're torn over how the U.S. should respond right now to a Chinese invasion of Taiwan. And they've polled a lot of people. It seems that about 70% of them right now are vastly concerned. So is this something that regular Americans at home watching this show, how does it affect them and where do they need to worry?
Well, in 1979, there was an agreement signed, the Taiwan Relations Act, which does require the United States to supply Taiwan with equipment if they are attacked. So this treaty and this agreement does require the United States to be engaged. Now, what does it mean to be engaged? It does not require the United States to go to war to protect Taiwan and go to war against China. It does not. So that leaves a lot of room for movement and evaluation and a good strategy, which I don't see here. I don't know exactly what our strategy is towards China vis-a-vis Taiwan. And I think it would be helpful if this administration were to be able to communicate the strategy, if they have one, as to what our position would be should Taiwan be invaded.
Yeah, and it has been interesting because obviously they were doing drills not that long ago, even though they called them, that they were drills. Taiwan was feeling threatened by that. You did have President Macron from France seemingly to take the side of China. But I want to go to what the EU had to say. Mm-hmm. So top EU diplomat calls for Navy patrols in Taiwan Strait. Obviously, this is of deep concern. Why do you think, though, now, of all times, this is of concern? Because as you mentioned, that agreement was written some time ago. Is that because the U.S. has become so weakened on the world stage because of the Biden administration?
I think that's probably part of it. There's a perception of U.S. weakness, which is extremely dangerous because it will only invite actions from our enemies and could lead to war. So clearly, we don't want to project any image of weakness. But I think it's also coming because the EU sees that their future is tied to the United States, tied to democracies. And invariably, they're going to be in the other camp, which is not Russia and China. So they see that what happens in China will affect them in Europe. The world is too interdependent today. Even though we have two big oceans to protect us, the Atlantic and the Pacific, we're too interconnected, too coordinated with what goes on in the world. And the EU sees that what goes on in Europe will be affected by what goes on in China. So they're aligned with us, and they want to see us blunt Chinese aggression.
Harley, always great having you. Great insight. We got to run. I want to get to the bell. The markets are about to open. Here we go. There they are. The live market. Bring in Terrence. Clapping. I don't know if they rang the bell. Did they ring the bell already?
Yeah.
Bell hasn't rang yet. It should be coming here momentarily, I think.
There we
go. There's the bell. And the markets are now open. And the numbers have just come in. The Dow Jones starting in the red. The S&P 500 in the red as well. The NASDAQ is unchanged at this point. Again, this is still early on in trading, so we'll continue to monitor it, but it's never a good sign when both the Dow and the S&P are in the red, and now the NASDAQ is actually down as well. It just popped up as well.
Yes.
The NASDAQ down as well. So starting in the red so far, but we, of course, will continue to monitor all of that and keep you updated throughout the day. But, guys, in other financial headlines this morning, GM investors are waking up with smiles on their faces after the American car giant increased its profit guidance for this year, thanks to its 19% net year-to-year profit for the first quarter of this year. The car maker reportedly made $2.37 billion between January and March, compared to $1.99 billion during that same time last year. After the strong start to the year, the company has now raised its pre-tax profit expectation for the entire year to between $11 and $13 billion versus the initial projection of $10.5 to $12.5 billion. In pre-market trading this morning, GM shares rose more than 3%. News of Tucker Carlson's departure sent Fox Corporation stock into a free fall on Monday. The stock fell as much as 5% and lost some $930 million in market value. Shares ended up recovering just slightly, but investors may still be a bit jittery this morning since the split comes just a week after the company settled a defamation lawsuit with Dominion Voting Systems for nearly $788 million. So look, you did the really tough thing during COVID. You paid your people and you pulled your business through the pandemic. Well, now, doing the tough thing could qualify you for up to $26,000 per employee at covidtaxrelief.org. Government funds are available to reward companies with 2 or more employees who stayed open during COVID. Now, this isn't a loan and you don't have to pay it back, but this program is complicated and no one knows more about it than the CPAs and tax experts at covidtaxrelief.org. You pay nothing up front and they do all the work only to share a percentage of the cash that you get. Businesses of all types, including nonprofits and churches, can qualify, including those who took PPP loans, even if you had increases in sales. You did the tough thing for your employees during COVID. Now, let COVIDTaxRelief.com or .org, help you get up to $26,000 per employee. Visit COVIDTaxRelief.org. That's COVIDTaxRelief.org. One more time, COVIDTaxRelief.org. You can go there to get information on potentially earning up to $26,000 per employee. It's a great windfall right there if you can get it. All right, let's get back to our West Palm Beach studios. That's where Karen and Miranda are hanging out. Guys, I got my tea here, so
Ooh, I like that. Money's now coming down on us, too. I like that little money.
I'm here to share the wealth, Karen.
Down.
Yeah.
I'm here to share the wealth.
Yeah.
You know, just take it all from
we
the
did that
inside.
yesterday. Did you miss it?
I guess I missed it. I didn't notice it
we are
yesterday. I know he
multitasking.
usually, Terrence gets the money, but I like that we got the money, too. But you know who is money? There is nobody who's money like Donald Trump. Donald Trump is money. He is on fire. And not only did he have the #1 Billboard song atop the charts, he now has the #1 book on Amazon. Real Americans Have Spoken, Terrence. And we're going to come back with Winning Team Publishing, Sergio Gore. It's going to get saucy because 2024 is getting saucy with Red State Barbecue. And we're going to be back after this break. Winning, not tired of winning. Not tired of winning. We'll be back in just a few minutes with more American Sunrise.